Hello everyone and welcome to Autocrat. This is episode 91, as promised from last week, the new Aeneas.
No, it's not.
Oh no, it's not.
This is because
okay.
I messed up in saying what the next episode was going to be last time. I promised you Aeneas II, and he and his glorious reign are coming, believe me.
I do believe you.
But this is episode 91, I'm an Englishman in New Troy.
Reference.
Yes. Instead of Aeneas II today, we are going to be discussing the first part of the history of the kings of Britain by the medieval English historian Geoffrey of Monmouth.
Yeah.
We bring this up because he mentions the Albulongan royal family right at the start of his works. And in fact, he mentions a branch of the family that comes earlier in the timeline, kind of, than Aeneas does.
Okay.
So we're pushing him to one side today. Not literally. Also, I'm not Aeneas.
How do I know that?
That sounds like something Aeneas would say. Maybe we're all Aeneas.
Maybe Aeneas is the friend we made along the way.
Just for that, I'm hoping his reign is terrible. We open with Silvius. Do you remember who Silvius is?
The son of Ascanius.
Yep.
According to us, anyway.
Well, according to Geoffrey of Monmouth, he is.
And also according to the normal source.
According to some of them. Some say he is, some say he's the half-brother of Ascanius. It gets messy. But we open with Silvius, in any case. Son or grandson of Aeneas and Lavinia. Silvius, apparently, has fallen madly in love. The only problem?
Yeah.
He's fallen in love with Lavinia's niece. This would be his father's first cousin, or his first cousin, depending which family tree you go with. And with the one we went with, it's his first cousin.
If it's his dad's first cousin, how is it his first cousin? Wouldn't that be his second cousin?
Well, that would be his first cousin once removed. But remember, either he's the son of Ascanius, and the, according to one version, grandson of Aeneas, or he's the son of Aeneas and Lavinia. We went with him being the son of Aeneas and Lavinia, so this is his first cousin, because this woman is Lavinia's niece.
Okay, sure, why not?
All of which to say, she's more closely related to him than other people are.
Okay.
They did a survey and everything. Now, without the knowledge of Ascanius, he marries her, and she is now pregnant with their baby.
How cute!
Ascanius finds out about this, but there isn't the shouting match you might expect from a king who's just discovered his half-brother has wed without his knowledge.
Alright.
Instead, he goes to wizards for advice.
Because you do that.
Yeah, because of course he did. What else would you do?
I mean, that's what you did.
All the time, yeah. Ascanius has one specific question. He asked whether the child was going to be male or female.
Because that's so important.
Yeah, that's the first question you should be asking.
Yes.
The wizards tell him that this completely unnamed woman will have a son. However, that isn't all they have to offer.
Okay.
This child will, in future, kill both his parents and will end up exiled, wandering around before getting great glory.
That feels like a prophecy.
Yeah, it does actually.
Yet another prophecy!
Now, we don't get any comment on how Ascanius reacts to this, but I can well imagine it's not pretty.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Or maybe he thinks, I'm not the kid's parents, not my problem, and just wanders off. Now, the first part of this prophecy gets off to a great start when the child's mother dies in childbirth with him.
Okay, that's sad.
It's the ancient world.
Let's give it a moment. Right, what do they name the child
Moving on.
anyway?
The child is given the name of Brutus. No, not that one.
Oh.
And not the other that one either.
What's the other that one?
We'll get to that.
Okay. If any of you know, tell me.
Don't tell her. Incidentally, sources like the Nuremberg Chronicle, Livy, Cassius Dio, and Dionysus of Halicarnassus don't mention Brutus at all, while William of Malmesbury and a much later British history published in 1670 pick up after the Roman Empire falls and so don't cover this period. Brutus seems to purely be a creation of Geoffrey of Monmouth.
Okay.
Great start so far.
Yep.
15 years go by, and Brutus, like most children, grows up.
Yeah, they would do.
He goes out hunting with his father Silvius.
Alright. Nice father-son bonding.
Yeah, it's a really nice trip until a deer is forced out in front of them by others on the hunting trip, and Brutus wants to kill it. So he throws a spear.
And it hits the deer.
And it hits his father in the chest.
Oh, shoot, the prophecy came true.
Yeah, so Silvius also dies, just as the prophecy said, and this also means that we can add this little addendum of death by son throwing spear to Silvius' life story.
Okay.
You thought he was boring. Well, it turned out he did one exciting thing right at the end. We said last time that Silvius is meant to have died in 1111 BCE if you believe the tradition stemming from Dionysus of Halicarnassus, etc., meaning we actually have a birth year for Brutus.
Which would be 1126 by math.
Yep, because of maths.
And not because I read that.
Yeah, definitely not. Incidentally, like we saw, Dionysus doesn't mention a cause of death for Silvius, nor do Livy or Cassius Dio, it's just Geoffrey of Monmouth, meaning this tradition could at least fit into the Roman one. Anyway, the rest of the royal family are outraged and evict Brutus from Italy.
But it was an accident.
Yeah, but, I mean, if you remember, Brutus does have an older brother, so it looks incredibly suspicious that Dad happened to end up with a giant spear sticking out of his chest.
He has an older brother.
Aeneas?
Yes.
I assume. I'm doing a lot of legwork here because Geoffrey of Monmouth doesn't really mention him, but I assume that Brutus is the younger son and that the mother is the same mother as the mum of Aeneas.
Sure. In any case, part 2 of the prophecy is done.
Yes, he's in exile now. So, he travels to Greece and meets up with the descendants of Helenus, that son of Priam from way back when.
Yep.
In fact, if we reference Apollodorus, he's one of the sons of Priam and Hecabe, so a full sibling of Cassandra and Hector. Now, at this time, these descendants of Priam are being held in slavery by someone called Pandrasus, the so-called King of Greece. I'm already wincing at that. That isn't a term that comes along until like the 1900s, this idea of king of a unified Greece, but anyway. This all stems from the son of Achilles, Neoptolemus, having led Helenus and others away into slavery after Troy fell. Brutus becomes famous for his wisdom and generosity in the region, and the Trojans flock to him, asking that he should become their king and free them from their Hellenic bondage. They think it's going to be easy, given that there were by now 7,000 Trojan men alone living in the area, and they had the backing of a half-Trojan Greek noble boy called Assaracus. Again, notice this is a name we've seen before in the form of Ganymede's brother that one time. Geoffrey of Monmouth is a fan of recycling old Greek mythological things. This Assaracus has a problem, though. He's not the son of a wife, but a Trojan concubine, so his brother is contesting his inheritance of 3 castles. So he's got problems with Pandrasus. So, Assaracus hopes that, by siding with the Trojans, he can defeat his brother, and Brutus accepts his help and the position of leader. He's made Duke of the Trojans and sends a letter to Pandrasus demanding freedom. How do you think Pandrasus reacts to this?
Totally fine, not a problem.
No, he's not happy. He in fact summons his noblemen with the intent of raising an army to deal with this troublesome Trojan.
Okay.
Accordingly, the quote-unquote Greeks set forth with an army. However, Brutus attacks with 3,000 soldiers around a fortress called Sparatinum.
Where did he get 3,000 soldiers?
I'm assuming it's just these slaves who he's just handed various vaguely sharp sticks to and said, go and train. In any case, the Greek forces scatter and are hunted down while trying to cross a river. Antigonus, the brother of the king, notices all of this going on. He rallies the Greek forces and pushes forward a counterattack on Brutus. However, these were by now unarmed Greeks against fully armed Trojans.
Doesn't seem very fair.
No, predictably there's a massacre and Antigonus is captured. Pandrasus spends the night gathering his shattered army back together and then besieges the fortress. We get scenes of the Greeks trying to attack in formation and the Trojans hurling whatever they can find down on their besiegers. Eventually, though, they begin to struggle. They send a message out to...
Brutus!
Yes, Brutus. He wasn't actually in the fort, despite what Pandrasus thought. You'd think this would have been useful to find out beforehand if you're about to go and besiege somewhere. Is the guy I'm trying to get actually in there? Brutus summons a friend, or possibly a brother of Antigonus, called Anacletus, and tells him that his life and that of Prince Antigonus would be spared if they did exactly what Brutus said. He wants to use Anacletus to trick entry into the Greek camp and fall on them. Anacletus agrees, probably because what choice does he have, and goes towards Pandrasus' camp, saying that he's escaped imprisonment by the Trojans. He begs the Greeks to come back with him to rescue Antigonus, which the Greeks agree to. Anacletus guides them into the woods.
I feel like this is gonna be an ambush.
Yeah, predictably, Brutus is waiting for them. I'm guessing along with some other people, and it's not just Brutus looking very stern. Brutus divides his men into three and attacks the Greek camp from three different directions. The men are ordered to go into the camp, but not to kill anyone, until Brutus had signalled he's at the tent of Pandrasus. Yeah, you thought they weren't going to kill anyone? Tough luck. The camp is massacred and Pandrasus is captured by Brutus. They divide the spoils and argue about what to ask from the captive king. A man called Mempricius argues they should be given the right to leave. After all, if they carve out a bit of Greece for themselves, the heirs of the people who are defeated will seek revenge, so best just to get out of here. So in the end, they agree to ask for the hand of Pandrasus' daughter, and this is not going to sound Greek at all, Ignoge for Brutus. Yeah, Ignoge. Ignoge.
That is a strange name.
Get used to that throughout this episode. They also get given money, provisions, and the right to leave. Now, Pandrasus is told, if he refuses, he will die.
Well, I bet he agrees very fast.
Yeah, he does, presumably wincing as a dagger gets pressed up to his neck, so a little bit of blood comes out. The Trojans leave, and Brutus tries to comfort Ignoge as she cries herself to sleep. She'd been standing on the deck watching her homeland slip out of sight. So, lovely first night of that marriage. But anyway, on they press. The first stop is an abandoned island called Leogacia, or Gaecia, Leogecia, which was harassed by pirates until it was abandoned. 300 of the men explore the island and find an abandoned temple to Artemis, among other things. They also find some deer, Brutus presumably getting flashbacks, and Brutus is advised that he should ask Artemis where his new home will be.
Artemis being the goddess of hunting, right?
Yes. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, actually. He probably thought, where were you when my dad and I were in the woods? I should say Artemis is now also known as Diana after the Latinization, but this is now a kind of Greek mythology story, so we're briefly back in Greek mythological names. While Brutus is asleep, Artemis tells him about an island beyond Gaul, which was home to giants first, and where the Trojans will become kings once again and will become masters of the world. The Trojans rejoice at the news of the dream and set sail for the west. They pass through lands such as Mauritania, which is not the modern-day nation, but instead the region around modern-day Algeria.
Okay.
Here, they take on board a random duke called Corineus, who had led some more exiles from Troy. This Corineus is supposedly the origin of the future name Cornwall, because this is where he and his people are going to settle. Now bolstered by Corineus and his gang, they all explore Aquitaine and the Loire Valley for a week and get into a scrap with Duke Gopharius or Jopharius of the Poitevin people. Brutus wins, but Gopharius rallies the 12 kings of Gaul, who apparently exist, to evict Brutus. In the meantime, Brutus ransacks the region and builds the city of Tours.
Okay, sure, why not?
Here, he sets himself up for battle. A battle takes place, presumably near Tours, and Coroneus emerges from a nearby forest and smashes into the back of the Gallic line with 3,000 soldiers, while Brutus is bogged down fighting, as they had agreed previously. Fighting continues the next day. During all of this fighting, the apparent nephew of Brutus, called Turnus, is killed, despite killing 600 men himself. I have no idea how exactly Turnus is a nephew of Brutus, but we can always make up that family connection here. Maybe he took Aeneas' son with him or something.
Maybe. Or maybe he has, aunt and uncles we don't know about.
Yeah, it's complicated. Coroneus seems to try the attack them in the rear tactic a second time, and somehow it works. I'm not sure how, given that he just did this the day before. Do they all have amnesia or something? But anyway, Brutus wins. With this done, and Gaul presumably humbled, Brutus and company set off again, presumably leaving Gaul in absolute chaos. But we don't need to worry about that. That's not our story.
Yes, because they arrive at Totnes, which is in the UK.
Yep, in Devon.
Wherever that is. So, yes.
We have arrived. This is the new mystical island that the prophecies foretold, and it's Britain. Do you see why the title makes sense now?
I do.
I'm very smug about that title.
Now, at this point in time, in case you didn't know, because you clearly didn't write those notes...
There's no way I wrote these notes up.
Britain was called Albion, and was scarcely inhabited, with only a few giants. Just a few.
Yeah, the odd one.
So, what do they do when they arrive?
Not a lot, I assume.
Well, they drive the giants back into cave in the mountains, and Brutus divides up the island between his followers.
Nice. All in a day's work.
The island gets renamed Britain, and the people gets named Britons.
Britons, which is so obviously just a homage to Brutus, it's ridiculous.
And Brutus founds a new capital city, name with very much a lot of thought behind it.
Brutus City.
New Troy.
New Troy.
In the Thames River, somewhere. And considering the Thames River is massive, we're gonna pretend it's in London.
Yeah. Funny you should say that.
Yeah?
Because this name will eventually be corrupted into Trinovantum and will be renamed London in future after a future king. So yes, it actually is London.
And that's quite funny because I hadn't even read that bit yet.
Ha! For once you didn't read ahead. I mean, we can sort of do the typo jingle here because I'm hoping they didn't put the city in the river. I'm hoping it was next to the river.
No, it's in the river. It's inside. It's Atlantis, didn't you know?
Yes. Yes, London is Atlantis. You heard it here first.
But anyway, Brutus is king of Britain.
He is.
King Brutus the First. Oh, well, who knows?
You have no idea, do you?
No. Now, Geoffrey of Monmouth recounts that Aeneas Silvius was king of Alba Longa and Hector's son had chased Antenor's descendant out of Troy.
Nice.
This Aeneas, that one,
Yep.
is listed as the uncle of Brutus, but we'll get into that whole mess later.
Yeah, and by mess I mean the gore that is the later family tree. We've already established Aeneas is the brother of Brutus, but I hadn't established that when I wrote these notes yet.
Now, Brutus and his wife, who I hope has stopped crying by now...
No, still crying. That's why the Thames River exists.
They need a dynasty.
Oh, no.
So, they get 3 sons.
Amazing how that happened.
I mean, they probably get them together. And their names are Locrine,
Yep.
Camber, which
Yeah.
reminds me of Camembert, and Albanact.
Yeah. Reminds you of Camembert.
Yes.
It does now. Oh, I can't unsee it now.
24 years after he lands in Britain, Brutus dies, and he's buried in London.
Nice.
How did he die?
I really hope one of his sons accidentally killed him with a spear during a hunt. Like in Greek prophecies, he came full circle.
Right, so what happens to the island? Like, who inherits? Who becomes the next king?
Well, the island actually gets split. between the sons.
Oh yeah, because this is such a good model for inheritance.
It never fails and always works every time, just as well as child monarchs do. Now, in terms of when exactly this happens, because I had a whole thing prepared and you're not going to derail me on this,
Okay.
I've assumed that the whole journey from the start of Brutus's adventures to arriving in Britain lasts 7 years, because everything seems to last 7 or 10 years.
Yep.
So that means he arrives in Britain in 1104 BCE.
Good.
And therefore, his reign of 24 years takes us to 1080 BCE. Editing Vince, just jumping in here to say that Brutus reigns for 23 years, not 24. Sorry, my mistake. Given that we said Aeneas arrived in Britain in the year 1104 BCE, given our arbitrary voyage time of 7 years, his death date is therefore put at 1081 BCE. We talk a bit more about the timeline in the rest of the episode, but just know that due to an error I made when copying down notes from Geoffrey of Monmouth, I'm probably a year out in most cases. In any case, the correct timeline of events, with correct dates, is now on the website should you want to have a look. The dates for our Alba Longan events have also been scattered in to give you a bit of perspective. Anyway, back to the episode. So, in case we want to establish an actual side-by-side chronology on our website, that's where we are. But yes, we split the island 3 ways. Locrine gets the middle, and it's named Logria. Very creative. Camber,
Camembert.
Prince Camembert, gets Cambria, or Wales, so the area past the Severn River. And you might have noticed when we've been to Wales, it's called Cymru in the local language. Cambria, Cymru.
Yeah, makes sense.
Albanact is given Scotland, or Albany. And sometimes the Old Kingdom of Scotland is, I believe, known as the Kingdom of Alba. So clearly this is Geoffrey of Monmouth trying to say, and it all comes from Brutus, everything.
So basically we get England, Wales and Scotland.
Yes. Now these 3 do not actually immediately jump on each other and kill each other, but instead reign peacefully. So if one of them killed Dad in order to get everything, it really didn't go that well. However, Albanact is killed by Humber, the ruler of the Huns? I'm not sure why the Huns are here now, it's medieval literature, when Humber lands in Scotland. Locrine and Camber join forces and travel to the Humber River, which is an actual river in the UK, to face Humber. You can tell there's a lot of Greek-style name origins going on here. What's the local landmark? Let's just add something to it and claim it's a person's name. They win, and among the spoils of war are 3 women Humber had seized, including Estrildis, daughter of a German king.
Because Germany's a thing?
Yes, everything's a thing already. Locrine determines to marry Estrildis. However, this marriage ruins a betrothal to Gwendolen, the daughter of Corineus, earning the wrath of Corineus.
Oh, so he was betrothed.
Yeah, he was betrothed and he's ditched her now in favour of Estrildis. Corineus goes to Locrine and essentially threatens to kill him until he backs down. So he marries Gwendolen, presumably looking nervously over his shoulder at his father-in-law the whole time, who's making slitting motions over his throat. However, he's still in love with Estrildis. So, he does the obvious thing and builds a secret room under the ground to keep her as a secret paramour. She bears him a daughter called Sabrina, and Gwendolen has a son called Madan. Madan is raised in the court of his grandfather, Corineus. When Corineus dies, several years down the line, what do you think Locrine does?
He abandons his wife and marries Estrildis.
Obviously that's what he does. Gwendolen, or Gwendiolen according to my notes here, accordingly rallies the Cornish people and begins haranguing her husband. Or ex-husband now, I guess? It's complicated. They fight a battle on the Stour River, and Locrine is killed by arrow fire after a 10-year reign, so we're now in 1070 BCE. Gwendolen is now in charge and commands that Estrildis and her daughter be thrown into the River Severn and drowned. Yeah. The River Severn gets its name apparently from Sabrina, or in the Brittonic language, Sabren. Gwendolen then governs for 15 years. Once Madan is an adult, presumably he was newborn when his father died, or at least a small child, she makes him king and contents herself with just ruling over Cornwall, her father's old area. By the way, Aeneas II is apparently still alive while all of this is going on.
Sure, why not?
Geoffrey of Monmouth keeps dipping in and out to say, by the way, this person's king of Alba Longa, then going back to the main narrative. Madan ruled as king and had two sons of his own, Mempricius and Melim. Very much going away from Greek now, aren't we? I don't really know what happened to Camber, but given that he fades out of the story, I assume the realm reunited again after his death. Madan apparently rules for 4 decades before he dies. The moment he dies, Mempricius and Melim, almost predictably, fight a civil war, each of them wanting to rule the entire island nation. Mempricius lures his brother into a fake negotiation and kills him in public. He then kills his heirs out of paranoia, leaving his wife after she gives birth to his son Ebraucus. He finally ends up being ripped to pieces by wolves after 20 years on the throne.
Okay,
So
sure.
that happened. Ebraucus then rules for 40 years, and is notable for raiding the Gallic coast and founding a city in the north. He's also apparently a contemporary of Latinus, meaning Aeneas II is finally dead. Ebraucus had 20 sons by 20 different wives, as well as 30 daughters.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to spare you here. We're not going to go through all of their names.
Okay.
Although Geoffrey of Monmouth sure does. Ebraucus sends his daughters to Alba, the son of Latinus, and they are apparently wed to Trojan nobles. The sons, however, led by a brother again called Assaracus, conquer Germany.
Which is still a thing.
Yeah, still a thing, and now owned by more members of the House of Brutus. However, it's the eldest who becomes king once Ebraucus dies, and this is Brutus II.
So there is a second.
There is, or as he's also known, Brutus Greenshield.
Okay, why?
I don't know.
Maybe his shield was green.
Maybe. I mean, enjoy that bit of detail on him, because he rules for 12 years, and Geoffrey of Monmouth doesn't really say much of anything about him.
Peaceful reign then.
Yeah. His son Lael then follows, founding Carlisle, I suppose Carlisle, in the north, and trying to reign peacefully. At this point, Geoffrey of Monmouth dips out again to say that Alba is followed by Epietus over in Alba Longa. Again, we'll deal with that mess in a few episodes' time. Lael's authority weakens as he gets older, and he dies after 25 years in power. Upon his death...
Everything's fine.
No, a civil war erupts.
Oh.
His son Hudibras takes power, I assume after the civil war, and rules for 39 years.
So whereabout are we roughly now in our year chronology, mister?
Well, let me check. We are roughly in the early 800s BCE. My notes say 880, but I'm not sure if I've messed this chronology up or not. If I have, the correct one will be on the website.
Okay.
Now, Hudibras brings the nation back together and is the founder of Canterbury, Winchester, and Shaftesbury.
Yeah.
During his rule, Monmouth claims Epietus is followed by his son Capys.
Yeah.
Hudibras's son Bladud is next.
What are those names?
I don't know. But Bladud does found Bath during the course of his 20 years in power.
Mm-hmm.
I should say, for people not in the UK, that is a town. It is not just a big bath in the middle of the countryside.
Yes, it is.
Okay, fine, it definitely is. Bladud's end comes when he tries to fly off the top of Apollo's temple in London, remember New Troy, with wings he'd made. Yeah. He ends up as a royal pancake, basically. Lear then follows his father and reigns for 60 years.
That's impressive.
It really is. Now, does his name sound in any way familiar?
Yes, it sounds like a Shakespeare play, King Lear.
It is. Have you ever read that Shakespeare play, or do you know the story?
I've never read any of Shakespeare's play.
Oh, good. This is going to be new territory for you. This is going to be fun. Lear founds Leicester and is a successful ruler, but only has daughters.
Yeah, but which is such a shame at the time.
Yeah, constitutional crisis, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, his affection is greatest for his youngest daughter, Cordelia.
That's a cute name.
Yeah. He wants to divide the realm amongst all three, Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia, when he dies. However, he wants to do a little test. Specifically, he asks his daughters how much they love him. The first two are very flattering, and he gives them shares of the kingdom. When it comes to the third, however, she speaks honestly, saying she loves him as much as a daughter should.
Okay.
No flattery is the point here. There's not like, I love you like the stars and the moon and what have you. We're not stroking his ego, we're just saying, well, I love you like a daughter. Lear is not happy with this answer and disinherits her for her lack of patently absurd flattery. The eldest two daughters are married off to the Dukes of Cornwall and Albany. Aganippus, the Frankish king, yes, the Franks are a thing now, about 1500 years too early, marries Cordelia after hearing of how beautiful she is. With time, remember he's got 60 years to rule in, Lear gets weaker. Goneril and Regan then rebel against their father and take his power. He's restored thanks to Maglaunus, the Duke of Albany. However, just 2 years later, Goneril wants to reduce his household size. Lear allies himself with Hevin, the Duke of Cornwall, trying to go to him when he leaves Goneril in a huff. So basically we've got power plays going on with the daughters trying to get the father out of the way. However, the same problem then happens again. He tries to go back to Goneril, but she's cold towards him and rebukes him. He's basically the victim of a soft coup here. He feels powerless and miserable and eventually leaves for Gaul and for Caritia, the city where Cordelia lives.
So it's Gaul now, not Frankie.
Yeah, it's complicated. Remember, none of this exists in the actual time period. This is just Geoffrey of Monmouth making stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Cordelia is saddened by her father's fate and takes him in. Aganippus, the king of the Franks, brings an army together from all across Gaul to get Lear his kingdom back. Lear leads the armies and fights against Albany and Cornwall. He gets his power back.
Yay!
But dies 3 years later.
Oh.
He is followed in death by Aganippus, and Cordelia becomes the queen.
That's cool.
Yeah, the first reigning queen of Britain, according to Geoffrey of Monmouth. And Lear is buried at Leicester. Cordelia is only allowed 5 years of trouble-free rule, however, before her nephews Margan and Cunnedag, sons of those dukes by her sisters, begin harassing her. They are appalled that Britain is being ruled by a woman, and they want power. They rebel, they win, and they imprison her. That silence speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They split the kingdom between them.
Oh, again?
Yes.
That never goes well.
No, it works every time. After just 2 years, Margan gets corrupted by advisors whispering that, as the eldest, he should have everything, so civil war begins again.
Of course it does.
Like I told you, it works every time. Cunnedag wins repeated victories against his aggressive cousin and eventually kills him in a village in Wales somewhere. Cunnedag finally has a prosperous 33-year rule before his death. By the way, Geoffrey of Monmouth pauses at this point to say that Rome is founded in this time.
Okay, we've reached the founding of Rome somehow
Yes,
already.
We've jumped forward several centuries during this time. The House of Brutus lasts a while. Cunnedag is followed by his son Rivallo and then his grandson Gurgustius.
Again, what are those names?
It's brilliant. After him comes Caecilius, presumably his son. Lago, nephew of Gurgustius, then becomes king. The next monarch is Kinmark, son of Caecilius. You get the impression there's a bit of branch hopping at this point. The next king is Gorboduc, who I can only assume is son of Kinmarch, but I don't really know. He has 2 sons, Ferrex and Porrex. As Gorboduc is aging, they fall out over who exactly should succeed. Porrex lays a trap for his brother, hoping to kill him. Ferrex is, however, told about the trap and flees to Gaul and to the refuge of King Suard of the Franks. Suard and his army land in Britain with Ferrex, and a battle is fought in which Porrex is killed. Their mother, Widen, is broken by this news and wants revenge against his killer Ferex. Therefore, she creeps into his tent one night while he sleeps, and she and her women hack him to pieces.
Ouch.
We then get civil war and 5 monarchs fighting. However, we also have no more mention of anyone being related to Brutus anymore at this point, so this is, I assume, when the line of Brutus dies out. So, that's the Trojan monarchy in Britain.
Cool.
Geoffrey of Monmouth does go on after this, I should say, until I think at least the 300s CE, but we're stopping here.
Okay.
What do you think? Wild ride, right?
Yes, very much so.
Now, prepare yourself, because you're going to need your time machine.
I do.
Next episode, we're going all the way back to 1111 BCE again.
We are?
Yes, because, remember, we still need to deal with Aeneas II.
We do need to deal with him.
So, let's hop in our time machine. Go back. It's pretty freaky seeing all of that happen in reverse. Especially when that spear came out of Silvius. Oh. Anyway, next episode will be the great and glorious reign of Aeneas II. Are you excited?
I am.
Well, I hope our listeners are too, so thank you all for listening, everyone. I know it's been a bit of a crazy one this week, but we hope you enjoyed, and until next time, have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week. Now, Geoffrey of Monmouth recounts that King of Alba Longa and what?
That makes no sense.
That makes no sense at all.
Typo jingle? What did I do?
What?
Let's just delete that bit. There we go. I don't know why I repeated that bit twice.